Just a little bit about and why we're here today. First of all, one thing that's clear to me as a parent that there's nothing more important than the social and emotional health of our children. And today I'd like to focus on how one innovative company and one truly innovative educator have teamed and leveraged VR to address this specific need. And over the last 18 months, I have heard over and over again by schools, educators, and people involved in this industry that the biggest barrier to introducing VR into high schools has been the cost of hardware. LBX is founded to help institutions, educational and enterprise, scale VR in affordable ways through short-term and semester lease programs. One thing we noticed when we were deploying with clients headsets in high schools was that schools were struggling with what to do with the hardware. And there was a risk, immediate risk, that these great devices were going to sit on a storage shelf. So we realized that without quality content, that this was going to be an issue. So we have partnered at LBX with premium content providers that provide meaningful and effective solutions for our clients' needs. Today, I have with me James McDermott of Curious and Catherine Kirby, the assistant principal at Union City High School in New Jersey. Together, we teamed to implement WISE, the social and emotional learning platform created by Curious in the Union City High School. With that, I'm going to turn it over to James and Katie to share with you how this went from the beginning to now being within the high school.
Thank you so much, Craig. And look, it's an absolute pleasure to be working with LBX Immersive as we roll this program and other software solutions out across schools in America. Quick background to the WISE Social Emotional Learning Program itself, and then I'll pass it on to Katie, because really, Katie and others within the schools are the heroes here. We're just the content creator of this particular program. But as Craig alluded to, we are a content play. We have been around for over 23 years. We had an opportunity to think about what a social emotional learning program would look like a few years ago now, actually, even before the unfortunate pandemic that's really washed us over the last year or so. But the WISE Social Emotional Learning Program, I think most importantly, is a program that is not just a one-stop experience where you experience it for, say, 10 minutes or so and then put that headset back up on the shelf for it to collect dust. It is an incredibly comprehensive program that lasts for over 9 weeks. It's combined with not just virtual reality, but also the use of a suite of guidebooks to support the educator, the student, the parent, as well as the teacher, of course. The program was framed around a Tier 1 Universal Support and Primary Prevention Service program. It obviously encapsulated the CASEL core competencies, i.e. self-awareness and social awareness and others. But most importantly for us, it was about building that bridge of common language from school to home environment. So we focus on community, we focus on self and others, and we do that through 2 primary frameworks. One is called Learn, Do, Teach, and the other one is about the inside out. So focusing on yourself before you can better understand others around you. I've mentioned the guidebooks. It's super important to note that it's not all about virtual reality. Virtual reality for sure is a vehicle for delivery and a tool to be able to use within our tool belt within the school environment. So it's a blended learning program. So for a lesson, for example, you would refer to your guidebooks, your respective guidebooks, as you interplay between the virtual reality experience. We've got a teacher training manual for teachers. We've got an educator's guide for those that need to align to curriculums or look to subscriptions, script suggestions. We've got the student guide, of course. So I've mentioned that we have a program for students. The program is just as much built for teachers at the same time, and Katie's going to talk much more to this than I will. But the teacher training program is just as important for us because in aligning with CASEL very closely, we recognize that in order for a social emotional learning program to be effective, we must actually be supporting our teachers first before we put it into the eyes and minds of our students. And because we're playing within this space of social emotional learning, because we're playing within this place of emerging technology, it's all relatively sure that we're training our trainers in order to be able to pass that on to our students, who ultimately, hopefully, will be able to pass that on to their parents and continue to build that bridge. But before I go any further, I'll ask for Katie to talk about how she has been rolling it out in her school.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Craig. Hello, everybody. My name is Katie Kirby. I'm the assistant principal at Union City High School. I run the mathematics department there. And additionally, I'm getting my doctorate in educational technology leadership. The reason I mention that is because I'm so vested in this program that I've actually decided to do my dissertation on the WISE program. I'm going to study how students react and the effects of the WISE program on high school students. So I've been working with James for a while. We actually met before the pandemic and we started the ball rolling a little bit, only because I knew the emotional baggage that our students had originally. And I can't even imagine what that must be like now after the pandemic. Because of this, it actually prompted, the pandemic prompted me to talk to James about training our teachers while we're in remote learning. You know, there's so much time there. I'm also in a district that affords us the professional development time. So in our remote learning, they've built in professional development hours. So I asked the district if I could use those hours to train some teachers. And so what I did is I put out a survey. I asked teachers, told them about the WISE program, told them about social emotional learning, and opened it up to everybody. And I got about 20 responses. So I went ahead and trained 20 teachers. As James had mentioned, there's a book, a training guide for the teachers, and it's so important to train them. You know, obviously, like James said, from the inside out, they need to know themselves before they can start handling their own emotional issues or emotional fitness. So I kind of equate it to math teachers. I'm not going to go send a math teacher in to teach linear equations if they have no clue about it. So they need to know that to be able to present it. So typically this training would take about a 2-day, maybe professional development training. However, since I have so much time, we did it over 6 weeks. There are 5 sessions within the WISE program to learn about. So what I would do is have the teachers do the online videos, learn about it, go through the manual, and then we would discuss it the following week. And I would ask questions and we'd you know, have conversations. The teachers came back so excited, not only for what they learned themselves emotionally, but they just started talking about how they can bring this to their classroom. Any subject, anywhere within the high school program. I had music teachers, math teachers, language arts, every single walk of life came in for this training. And so it was exciting to see them excited. What we do now is we're all ready to, we're trained, we're ready to go. And we're just waiting for the students to come back. And obviously that's the most important part. We're ready to go and roll it out when they return. However, I'm setting up a parent workshop. And I think this is so important because on the Castle model, they do talk about community. And I think it's so important to have the students, the school, and the community coming together. It's that relationship and that support, which is really going to make this program successful. And that goes in any district, anywhere in the world. You know, if you have the support from everybody around, it just makes it that much more enticing and more palatable for everyone to want to learn. This relationship also goes into the relationship I have with James and Craig. And this in Union City, the WISE program, would never have been possible if it wasn't for the relationship that we formed. Their attentiveness, their support, their listening to my crazy ideas of how I'm gonna roll it out, constantly just emailing them and always getting a response. That to me is huge because I can't roll this out without their support. So I thank them tremendously for that. I'm going to roll it out within my math department because it's easy for me to do so. I've dedicated 2 teachers and I'm going to incorporate this into 3 of their classes. So our teachers teach 6 classes per day. So I'll do 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. I also have a couple of alternatives that I'm playing with right now. We have a health and wellness club that runs once a week after school. And I'm going to have that teacher have those students partake. And I'm in the process of working with the district for a summer session. So, there are just so many different avenues you can go with incorporating WISE into the community, into your schools. And I'm just, I just love the program. I think it's important. I don't think our students are going to be able to focus and really learn subjects or anything, math, language arts, anything, unless their mind is there. And I think giving them the skills and the tools that the WISE virtual reality provides is going to be that building block to help them, not control their emotions, but to understand and really then be able to increase their academic ability.
I might just add to that. Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing your experience. It's so important for us at Curious that teachers actually get to hear from teachers. I'm a teacher myself, but I've been out of the game for just a little while. But where we're also very excited is that our current customer base, which is across the world now, we've got in the UK, soon to be over in other parts of Europe, Australia, and within America, is that these customers that are using of the WISE program in such different ways, which is the way we intended it to be, are looking to get together to create a community of learning around not just the use of virtual reality to support social emotional learning, but also how they've gone about rolling out the WISE emotional fitness program. As I mentioned before, it's an incredibly comprehensive program. It's a program we're very proud of, and it's a program that had a lot of effort and time go into it. Over a year's worth of consultation, actually. And what I mean by consultation is this program isn't built by tech for tech. This program is built by clinical psychologists. It was overseen by an international advisory panel of clinical interventionists, obviously psychologists, ethicists, as well as award-winning teachers. And that was, I thought, I commend the Curious for doing that, because not many companies tend to do that. I think it's happening a little bit more now, as it needs to be. So you will see in the right-hand side of the screen there an image of what one can experience when you go through the WISE Emotional Fitness program, as it is the same for the teacher as it is and the student. It is a mixed media experience where you do have 360 video files, but it does incorporate high-level computer-generated content where you get to, for example, jump through mirrors or jump through a television, to go through portals, to experience skill development, to experience scenarios that play out within the fictional world of the boxlings. And all at the same time as you're going through these different worlds, you're being guided by an orbitable robot that you can see there on your screen, which is WISE One. WISE One effectively is your clinical psychologist. So where we are very excited by this program is that we are hoping to democratize these everyday life skills that we need in order to better understand more complex issues such as bullying. And so for Katie at Union City and her team, they've been experiencing that in the way of the teacher training program first, with the support of an e-learning site where they get to meet the clinical psychologists that were the brainchild behind the development of the program. And then they carry that across to the student-facing program. I just thought that would be interesting to note. And I'd also note that we've been given a bit of extra time here. So is there anything else you wanted to add there, Katie, to what I just said?
I just think, it's so important that we talk about the virtual reality aspect of it, because as you said, it's not the whole thing, but let me tell you, it is definitely a little carrot for the teachers and the students. It's fun, it's engaging, it makes you want to learn about it. It makes you totally immerse yourself in the whole social emotional learning aspect of learning how to breathe, watching the boxlings, which I think is such a great idea. Boxlings, it's the vehicle or the person who is going through these emotional things that you can watch, and they use a boxling because it's generic. There's nothing to say, oh, it's a girl, it's a boy, it's any race, creed. It's just generic and everybody can relate to it. So I'm just really excited to be part of it and glad that our school is embracing this program.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, actually, because as I mentioned, we had an international advisory panel to oversee the development of this program, and they signed off after completion, and we met with them on a bi-weekly basis, and we went through everything. We turned every stone upside down, including about how do we best design these boxlings to ensure an element of universality where there's no bias opportunity where it can be seen as, oh, I can relate to that. I can relate to that particular scenario. Because for us, it is all about using virtual reality, like you mentioned, Katie, to these everyday life skills that we're referring to and that you come across within the program itself. So through virtual reality, you're exposed to something in a safe way, in a safe place, to then carry that across into your actual life practices. So I mentioned it's a 9-week program, but you may have only seen there on one of the slides 5 episodes. Well, what happens is across the other 4 lessons is we're encouraging project-based learning. We're encouraging that through drama-based pedagogies. So you do go into virtual reality during those particular lessons as well, as with every other lesson. But then you're tasked through your respective guidebooks to work together to unpack real-life scenarios in a real-life situation with the need for collaboration and peer-to-peer learning based on those skills that you've learned preceding that particular plus lesson. And so for me as an educator, I actually get really excited by those opportunities just as much as I do with the opportunity for virtual reality.
That's great, James. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just add one more thing. Aside from the other hats that I wear, in New Jersey, we have the HIB law, it's harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And I actually run that within the district. Obviously, all of this ties with social emotional. And I think it's such a great program to have the students do this WISE virtual reality social emotional, because they'll be able to take that and bring that, like you said, to their lives, to their everyday living. And so once that happens and you get most of those students trained on this and give them those skills, you'll see incidents of bullying starting to drop. It's been researched that, you know, when students are taught these skills, that incidents of bullying, you know, start to drop. And I think that's something that's very important, obviously, within the school districts.
Yeah, and just lastly, before we close here, thank you for mentioning research. And you have also mentioned yourself that you're doing research, because that's where we first met. For those that are interested, feel free to reach out to us, because we have commissioned a university to complete a random control trial around this program. For us, that was also just as important as the release of the program. You know, aligning very closely with CASL and understanding of their own foundations and frameworks, we did take note that in order for a program to be deemed effective, obviously one needs to take it under trial, and we did do that. So we've really tried to tick all the right boxes here to make sure that when we went to market, which was a while ago now, that we had a program we knew was going to be a game changer. And I'm happy to say that for those that are currently using it across the world right now, we're definitely getting a sense of that, and we're really excited to share this opportunity with you all as well. I'll let Craig close us out because I know we're getting close to time. Craig, thanks.
Sure. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, James. We love working with both James and Katie. And if you, any of the people watching, or if you know someone that would like to get a demo of the WISE program, you can contact us at wise@lbximmersive.com, and we'll arrange to have a headset loaded with the demo units on the headset sent to you for a period of a couple weeks, where you can see it, share it with your team at your school, and then we can walk you through how we've helped Katie and Union City acquire headsets where they didn't have to go out and sink a bunch of money into all of the headsets. So we're happy to provide that information to you as well, and work out a solution that works well for both the students and for the school district itself. With that, thank you, James. Thank you, Katie. And again, if you need to reach us, wise@lbximmersive.com, and we can bring in Katie's offered to help out if you need her to speak with other people within your school. James is always available, and as we are here at LBX.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.